In my media project, I challenged and used quite a few thriller film conventions. With the mise en scène, the death that happened in the alleyway was very long, dark, and promiscuous. This is a stereotypical death for a thriller movie. Also, the weather on the day was very grey and dull. This shows that the mood wasn't happy or wasn't light, and it was very dark and sinister. When it comes to lighting, we also used quite a few thriller film conventions. When it came to Jack's drinking scene, it was very dark lighting, very sinister and very low. This was to show that he was a very evil man. Next up, we are moving on to props. The props that I used in my film were props that followed normal media conventions. Props such as the gun used as the murder weapon was black. And this black dark gun was obviously used to kill Lucy. Next up, we used drink or alcohol, and the alcohol is normally used in films by the big bad boss, and this is to show that he's big, bad, and rich. Next, we used the phone. The phone was used to communicate between Jack and Theo to tell him that the killing was done. This is another thing used in media films as a normal thriller convention. Next, and finally, we move on to sound. Now, sound is different to the other aspects that I've just talked about. In sound, we actually followed and challenged the conventions of a normal thriller film. We followed the aspects such as the dark, sinister tone of Jack speaking to Theo on the phone, and the muffled voice of Theo on the phone back to Jack. But what we did not follow is to do with the music. The music was very contrapuntal. It was not the same and did not follow the kind of film that I was recording, but it did fit in with what was there. In terms of how the product engages with the audience, there are quite a few suspenseful moments that will really make the audience go onto the edge of their seats. In terms of the shooting, after Lucy was shot, there was a close-up shot of the gun. This is very suspenseful and shows, was Lucy killed or was she not, and what happens after. Also, when it comes to Theo's hidden identity, when Lucy asks, "Who are you?" Theo doesn't tell Lucy who she is. This also leaves suspense and mystery to the audience. The audience don't know who Theo is, and the audience don't know why he has gone and shot Lucy. Next, when it comes to Jack's hidden identity, the audience really want to know what is happening and who the heck Jack is. No one really knows who Jack is. No one really knows what the role Jack plays in the film yet. But we all know that he's the big bad boss. And that leaves a lot of thought for the audience to think about and to really dwell on. This leaves suspense and makes them really want to watch more and watch the full film. In addition to that, when Lucy is leaving the house at the beginning of the scene, this also lets the audience ponder about where Lucy actually is going and why she is going out of the house. It also makes them think, what is going to happen next? Is she going to be followed? Is she going to be caught? What is going to happen next? This creates a suspenseful environment from the get-go. Now, in terms of what distributor we'd like to use and how our media text would be distributed, we'd love to use a huge company such as Sony. They are part of a massive conglomerate and one of 3 of the big 3. And this would be very, very useful for us. Not only because they have made thriller films that are very similar to ours, such as The Escape Room and The Girl in the Spider's Web, but also because they have a lot of money to use to help us distribute our film and make it massive or make it on a global scale.
Before I started my movie, my production skills weren't great. I had to develop my production skills throughout my piece and as I was going along. When it came to filming, things like camera angles and camera shots I had prior knowledge to. Things like long shots, close-ups, extreme close-ups I knew about due to my prior knowledge. But as I was making my film, I found that I had to make more creative ways to make more creative shots and make the film more interesting. For example, when we were doing Jack's scene, I had to make sure we had a good shot of Jack and it enabled him to be invisible to the camera. We had to change the lighting and change it during editing. This is something I developed and a skill I developed while doing my film and while producing my film. Also, when it came to sound, I developed a new skill of making my own backing track. Before all the film process starting, I didn't know that I had to make my own backing track. But when we started and when we went on to GarageBand, I found out making my own track is more difficult than it first seemed. I had to get my own backing music, I had to get my own instruments, and I had to make it all myself. This was very difficult at first, but once I got the hang of it, I really got into the swing of things and was able to make my own songs. I would definitely say that my production skills developed through the process of making the film. My camera skills and the camera work definitely developed, and the way that I made sound and music for my film and for it to fit into my film definitely developed through the process.
So, when it comes to integrating technology, software, hardware, and online into my project, I did this very well, and there was many things that I used to integrate this. First off, we have the camera. We used a GoPro to film my camera, which is to film my movie, which is an action camera. Along with this, the software that I used was Final Cut Pro. This is the editing software that I use that is very high end and professional software to use. It's used by filmmakers, TV show makers, short film, and YouTubers. This gave me a lot of experience on how to use high-end and professional equipment to make a film. It also gave me access to new animations, new editing accesses that I can use to create an even better film for the audience. Finally, when it comes to online, we used online to upload our film and let people see what we have created. The online software that we used was called YouTube. YouTube is used by billions of people around the whole globe, and it's one of the biggest platforms for video makers. So we decided to upload not only this evaluation, but also the film that we have made onto YouTube so everyone can see.
Thank you very much for watching my evaluation video. Thank you for watching my film as well. Hope you enjoyed, and that will be all.